Hello and welcome to another episode on the I don't have a name for this podcast. What is up, you guys? I literally miss your faces and your listens. Like, I miss delivering for you guys. It's been such a long time coming, and before we get started into the thick of it, if you've been here before and you're familiar with my process, you already know what I'm about to ask you, and so don't do that. How are you? No, really, how are you doing? Take a moment to just sit with that and acknowledge and feel. I don't need an explanation. I don't need a follow-up story as to why you're doing how you're doing. I just want to know how you're doing. And sit with that for a moment. I love giving you guys that space to just feel and be when you come to my podcast, because if you're anything like me, I find it so difficult to just give myself the time and space and grace, honestly, which is the word of the month, by the way, to just exist and feel and listen to myself. And that's something that I'm actually in the process of learning right now. And we'll get into that deeper in this podcast. But before we get into that, which is mainly what this podcast episode is about, as you can tell from the title, like, we're getting into the nitty gritty and the not so pretty side of it for me personally. And this is something that I don't normally do, and so I knew I had to record an episode about this like from a month and a half ago now. And it was me it wasn't that I wasn't in alignment, I just was out of balance. And balance is also the very special word of the month for this month. October is a very special month because it is about to be critical. Mercury in retrograde then cleaned out our plates and gave us a fresh new slate, showed us where our shadows were, showed us what needed to be worked on. And now October is time to start new. Pick up the things that we had set in motion before and take action. And that is exactly what we're doing here today with this long overdue episode on the podcast. So thank you so much for, rocking with me if you've waited for this episode. I know, and I appreciate that you're still here, even though it's been so long. I will definitely try to remain consistent while still honoring where I'm at and how emotionally, energetically, mentally, spiritually available I am, while still being able to provide these gems. But I want to always hop on this podcast with a goal in mind, something that you can take away, something valuable. And I have to also realize that the not so pretty side of it is also valuable. It's also something that is a deliverable. So let's get right into it. So where have I been? And that's pretty simple. I've been here. School started, things started to pick back up, and I started tapping back into that overly masculine energy that I've always relied on for my entire life. It got me this far. I've hustled my way here. I've gone against the grain, I'm pretty sure, a couple of times, more times than I'm probably aware of, and I've done it the hard way, and I've pulled myself through some really tough times by hustling and by, tapping into that masculine energy that I know how to tap into. Like that feels so innate to me. And what happens as a result is that I neglect my feminine side. I get out of balance, I get out of whack, and I'm so tapped in and so tuned into this masculine energy and working from a very masculine space that it starts to catch up and the burnout becomes real, and I neglect myself. I neglect the things that I love to do creatively and the things that ultimately make me happy and bring me balance. And so one of the things that like really ends up suffering is my content creation, and my YouTube channel being like the number one like example of that. I haven't posted on YouTube since, I don't even know since when. Actually, I'm pretty sure it's probably been somewhere like 7 or 8 months since I posted on YouTube. And it's never my intention to up and disappear, but when the going gets rough, the tough gets going. How is that saying? I shut down, you guys. I shut down, and it's so hard for me to tap into a creative space when I am all work and no play. And so my YouTube has been suffering for a lot longer than my podcast has been. And one of the things that I noticed about my podcast that really allows me to show up as my most authentic self is that my podcast from episode 1, like honestly, you guys hear it in the name, like I don't have a name for this. And that wasn't like some clever name that I came up with. It was the honest truth at the moment. Like I literally did not have a name for it. I had this mic for over a year sitting in my closet, and it felt like time to just start recording. And so ultimately this podcast was born. But from episode 1, I've always kept it real with you guys. This is raw, unedited content that you're getting. So it's a lot easier for me to meditate, get in the zone, download my messages, and deliver to you guys, knowing that I don't have to look back at this and edit and criticize and put on that critical lens where like I do with my YouTube, because I'm super like, when it comes to editing on my YouTube, like I'm so hard on myself. And I'm learning how, to not be overly critical of myself, but to do it in moderate amounts where it's healthy for me. And it's not like, oh my God, I don't want to look at my YouTube because it's like nails on a chalkboard. Like, it's not like, I realized I was doing this thing as well once I started picking up my vlogging camera and vlogging again, was that I turn on the camera and I'm like, I look crazy. And that's the first thing I tell myself. I look crazy. And I do this unintentionally. I don't do it from a space where I'm trying to be critical or mean to myself. I do it naturally, instinctively, like turn on the camera, oh my God, I look crazy. Like I bet you we all do it. And I realized that subconsciously that's locking in my mind. And so when I'm replaying that footage, I'm like, oh my God, I don't like how I look. I don't like how the background is. I don't like how this clip came out. And so what ends up happening, sorry if you hear that movement, my headset was itching. So what ends up happening is that I don't create, because it's like literally all work and no play. I literally suck the play out of my content creating. And how do you do that? How is that even possible to take creation and make it just work? And I think that was one of my fears also with my YouTube channel. It's like, yeah, I want to I would love to monetize my YouTube channel, like just being able to, if I'm monetized, that means that like my platform is huge. Like I have a big enough platform to monetize. That means my community is huge. That means I have so much support. That means my reach, my touch is huge. And that's what I want ultimately. And to make money off of it is amazing. Like it's like the icing on the cake. It's not the why though. You get me? And so when I started to like think about wanting to be on the YouTuber partner program, it started to almost make it like a job for me. And I'm like, I don't want to ever think about YouTube as a job or my content creating as a job. I want it to always be this thing that I look forward to and I'm delighted to look forward to. And honestly, those two things are not mutually exclusive. Like you can monetize off of your content creation and it doesn't have to be work, or you don't have to see it from that lens of, oh, this is something that I have to do or I have to keep up, or so that is where I have been and why I haven't uploaded on my YouTube. And honestly, it's just started to translate onto my podcast, because I would have these ideas to make episodes and record, and then I'm like, I don't know, like something would literally come up and I would have 1,000,001 excuses as to why it's not a good time to film. And so this morning and like lately in the last week, I really felt like I need to record this episode and tell people, like, and share this message with people that it does get hard and it gets to be easy the moment that you bring these shadows to the light, because they're only shadows as long as they're in the dark, and they're real subtle and they move really silently. So it's hard sometimes to even acknowledge that there's some form of resistance, there's some form of outdated programming showing up when I'm not wanting to hop on the camera, when I'm not wanting to content create. There's something that I'm telling myself subconsciously that doesn't allow me to tap into that space so freely. And I've been really working on that, and it has been balancing my masculine and feminine energy, because honestly, since the day I was born, if you know me, y'all know, most of y'all listening to this know, and if you don't, now you will know. I'm from New York, and like New York is known for the hustle and bustle, and my mom and my dad, hustlers with a capital H. Okay, so like I was born out of that. I didn't choose this life chose me. But I was born out of that. And so also systemically, like that is what we are taught in school, and it's what the standard that we're held to for our entire lives, especially if you continue to go to school and you continue to educate yourself, and if you work in this workplace, like in this capitalist society. Like it is a very masculine driven workplace and school educational place. So imagine living 98% of your life operating one way, and then you're like, this actually doesn't work for me anymore, and I need to learn how to be able to be in flow, allow things to allow life to take its course sometimes, not being so type A, not planning every minute of my life, not feeling insecure or unstable or lack of security because I don't know what the next step is, because I don't have a clear vision of what's next, what's my next move, what's the next person's move that has something to do with my next move. You get me? Like that's how deep it gets. And I am now learning how to balance it all. And I was like, yeah, no excuses. We're pulling out the mic tomorrow. We're recording this episode and we're bringing the people what the people want. And so it's so funny because my spiritual coach, Christina, she was like, I told her about this a month ago. She's like, you need to record an episode about it. That's it, period. And I was like, I know. And here I am a month later, finally recording it. But even that, it's not that I'm finally recording it. That is something worthy of celebration, worthy of an applause, because I am doing what I said I wanted to do. I am recording it. It's not this, oh my God, you finally got to do it. You finally got around to doing it. It's like, I am here. I'm showing up, And sometimes showing up is really fucking hard. I don't know if I've ever cursed on this podcast before, but sorry. Maybe it's my first F-bomb. But yeah, showing up can be really hard. And I think that that's the biggest message here, the biggest lesson, is that when showing up is really hard and it's easier not to show up, we do have to give ourselves that pat on the back for showing up. Even if we're late, even if it took us, 3 weeks, 10 million excuses, 5 friends telling us, get your shit together. You showed up, and that is commendable. That's applaudable. That is something worth note taking. That is big. Because the easier thing to do would be to continue not to show up. And so if you've shown up recently for something that you felt was difficult and challenging for you, I want you to sit there and show yourself grace and show yourself gratitude for doing that. That is amazing. Period. No if, no ands, no buts. Period. I just had to take a deep breath. I think I was talking to myself right there. I mean, I was, but also for you guys, seriously, that's amazing. And I recently had been doing a lot of work over the summer on myself and really trying to get into alignment and have my actions and thoughts be aligned. My actions be, every action that I'm taking needs to be in furtherance of my highest good and my mission here, or not my mission, my calling, my passions, what I like to do. And for a long time I was doing a very good job at that. And once I fell off my podcast, it started negative reinforcement started to kick in, and I started to feel bad and not worthy, and these old programmings and old beliefs started to show up. And it's not that I was not in alignment, and it wasn't that I didn't even know, I didn't even have the vocabulary to express what I was going through until I signed up for this masterclass. Shout out to my online mentor. I love her so much. She dropped this super affordable masterclass on balance, and it's sometimes you are in alignment but you're out of balance. And I was it was a light bulb moment. I was wow, because I kept wondering, I literally have done the work. It's not that I don't want to do the work. It's not I don't want to put in the time. I've done that. So what is happening here? Why am I feeling wonky? Why am I feeling out of whack? And it's literally because I needed to balance myself. I needed to balance the feminine and the masculine. I needed to balance being in flow and that hustle. I needed to balance when to take initiative and when to allow life to take its course. And I had quite some interesting things come up, which we will not discuss in this podcast because we're not crying. I think I cried or got emotional in the last one, or maybe 2 out of 4 episodes, which I think I have 4 episodes at the moment. This would be the 5th one, and we're not about to have 3 out of 5 be emotional, so we're not doing that. But something that I did want to talk about in this podcast was I wanted to talk about this journal prompt that she left me with that that are really helpful in just creating that balance in your life and knowing where you would or should, not should, no, knowing where you would spend your time, knowing that if you knew that, like, you had it all. So that was basically the prompt. The prompt is, imagine that you wake up and you're living your dream life. All your bills are paid. You literally have everything you want. You are living the dream job. You got it all. Like, whatever that got it all picture looks like for you. For me, it's like my family, my mansion, my JD. I'm a successful attorney with my private practice, and I got the McLaren P1 in the garage. And my husband is like the most amazing guy to ever have walked this planet. And he's a chef because I like to eat. Or he's a really good cook. He doesn't have to be a chef. But the point is, I have it all, right? How do you spend your free time? That was the prompt. You have it all. You have the dream life. How do you spend your free time? How do you wake up? How do you feel? What is your lifestyle like? You know? And I thought that was such an amazing prompt because it prompted in me something that I didn't know was there. Like, I'm like, wow, I actually need to sit on this one, meditate on this one, and tap into these emotions, because I know, I guess, in the physical world, like, I know what I want. I want to get this degree, right? I want the family. I want the excuse me, I don't have water. Wow. Okay, anyways, I want the family, I want the house, I want the cars, I want all those material possessions, like, or like tangible things, right? What are the non-tangibles that you would spend your time on? And I'm stuck. I've always known what I wanted to be since I was a little girl. I've always had a vision. I've always been able to set my eye on the target and gun for it. But when it comes to, you know, like my YouTube, this is something that I like to do. My podcast is something that I would love to spend more time on. And these are things that don't come to my mind because I don't even allow myself to, I don't allow myself the space, the grace to have those things, like, that's crazy. And so I thought it was really dope. And I wanted to share that with you guys as my, message, not my message, but like my homework for you. Yes, I'm assigning you homework, and I hate homework. Like, literally, I used to hate homework ever since I was in 4th grade. I'm like, why do I spend 9 hours a day in school and then I gotta go home and still do school work? Absurd. But my homework for you, I don't want to call it homework. Let's call it something else that's not sticky and icky like homework. Let's call it my question for you. That's it. It's not even like an assignment. It's just something to think about. My food for thought, my little gem for you that I'm leaving you with before I end this episode is for you to sit there and really think about that. If you had everything you ever wanted at this moment right now, what is it that you would be doing? with your free time. I hope you guys really enjoyed this episode. It was so nice to get to talk to you guys again and hear you guys, feel you guys hearing me and, connecting on a deeper level once again, and to know that you guys are still out there just waiting for your girl to post. And it really warms my heart, all the support I get once I drop these episodes and these shows. So I really want to take the time out to thank you for being so supportive, for being there for me and showing up and holding me accountable as well, because accountability is so important in this work that we do as humans. Like, we need to keep ourselves accountable, and we need people like you guys who keep me accountable, making sure that I am pouring into myself and creating the space to be creative. I love you guys so much. Make sure that wherever you watching or listening to this podcast, you give me a good rating. If you thought this episode was good, if you want to hear other types of content, please suggest them in the comments. And until next time, and next time will not be in 2 months from now, I promise.